Hey guys, so a lot of you who have been following me may remember this poor guy before Christmas. And I really want to talk to you about the lasting effects of a hoof abscess. Now, this is 2 months on from us finding the abscess, and the treatment is still ongoing of sort. It doesn't just end when you find the abscess, and the hoof doesn't just miraculously fix itself. There is a period after where you need to take particular care to make sure that the area doesn't become injured through the horse standing on something, which could cause a relapse, or reinfect due to foreign bodies getting trapped in there. Now, you can see what I'm doing here is clearing this out the best I can. I do feel that this is completely healed, however there are lasting effects on the hoof. The hoof is a lot bigger than the other one, and that's probably due to the hoof slightly widening due to that site of injury. But you can also see around the toe there's a yellowy area. Now, I think the hoof was under such distress that there could have potentially been some stretches to the laminae, and definitely the sole area where it's yellow, because that whole area was a different colour. It looked very much like it had been affected, but it actually hadn't. You can see the site of injury. So there was just a huge area of concern around there. So the best thing I feel is to protect that area. I have had confirmation that the horse is sound now, which is great, but it's a case of managing this right up until that hoof is absolutely 100%. Now, I've skipped back here to show you where we started, just for point of reference. So you saw in that last video that there was a huge area. Now, when I first looked at this horse, I'll be honest with you, it was too early. But some horses are super sensitive, and I say it's too early. I guess there's never such thing as too early. If a horse is in pain, then you want to find a solution as quickly as possible. But when I looked at this hoof, there wasn't a huge amount to go off, and he wasn't particularly sensitive. It was only when I revisited him a few days later, which is what this was, and this was getting pretty close to Christmas now, he was definitely more sensitive. But what I actually had to do is I had to dig quite deep down that hoof wall. So I would probably guess that this would release out of the coronary band. I believe it was quite deep, and if it had been left untreated, it would have eventually popped out the top, because I had to dig quite far down there. And also the vets looked at this horse, and we were all trying to find a solution. So anyway, after conversing with the vet, the solution was to put pads and some dental impression material underneath that pad, which is what I did, and thankfully it worked. So at this point, this is the second shoeing post abscess. I was very careful to make sure that no nails were in that area, and that was the reason I marked the pad. So I've marked the pad where the injury was, and I also marked the shoe where I had to stop putting nails, if that makes sense, because I didn't want to nail into that area. Just for a couple of reasons. It didn't seem sensitive, but we don't know underlying if it is still healing under there. And I guess the other reason was I didn't want to distress that area, because putting nails into that hoof wall would definitely stretch the fibres of the hoof wall, and it's just, while it's healing, I wanted to stay away from it. So anyway, as you can see, I didn't need to put the packing right up to the toe. I didn't want any sole pressure. I just wanted it at the back of the foot, and it will, of its own accord, fill in any gaps. So if there was an area at the sole, when I squeeze it, it will seep down there. But it's always good to take precautions on these things, because we didn't want another problem on top of the problem we were already treating. So sole pressure would have been quite detrimental to this pony, because his sole is compromised by the fact that he has had a hoof abscess. But on the whole, this horse is going amazing, and this isn't any way a negative story. This is a very positive story, but I think it's really important to highlight the aftercare to a hoof abscess. It doesn't end when the horse has had that abscess released. And this horse is at a college that I work with, and the staff are amazing and they take great care of these horses. So they were so on it when that horse was lame. They rang me straight away, and I think that's great. I think we could act accordingly, and everybody was involved. You know, the vets and I looked at this horse, and we all came to a decision between us. So the team effort was great too, and I couldn't be happier about that. But on the whole, this horse is doing great, and I just wanted to share this video with you and explain to you guys that there is an aftercare process to a hoof abscess. It's not just a case of releasing it and then everything's fine.